Many believe people are leaving Florida because of politics or weather, but the data tells a different story. Families thought their budgets were fine, yet when they reviewed their expenses, they realized costs were rising too fast. Housing prices, insurance, and taxes are increasing much faster than wages, leaving families squeezed financially. This video will show where families are moving, why those states attract them, and what Florida households struggle with financially. Let's start with one Tampa family. Their story reflects what many middle-class households face today. By the end, you'll understand why these financial pressures drive migration and where families find relief. Sarah and Michael bought their home in Tampa back in 2021. It wasn't a luxury property, just a comfortable 3-bedroom house in a neighborhood they could genuinely afford. Both had stable careers and a combined income of about $130,000 a year. They planned carefully, saved responsibly, and qualified for a mortgage without stretching their finances. At the time, everything made sense on paper. Their monthly payments fit comfortably within their budget, and they had every reason to believe they were financially secure. Sarah and Michael bought their Tampa home in 2021. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, in a quiet neighborhood close to good schools. They weren't buying beyond their means. They put 20% down, locked in a 3.25% mortgage rate, and qualified comfortably. At the time, it looked like a responsible financial decision. Sarah worked as a registered nurse, earning about $78,000 a year. Michael managed a warehouse distribution center, bringing in roughly $52,000 annually. Together, they earned around $130,000 a year, well above Tampa's median household income and solidly within the middle class. Before buying, they carefully reviewed every expense. Their monthly mortgage came to about $1,300, a payment that comfortably fit their budget. With steady jobs, manageable housing costs, and room to save each month, they had every reason to believe their financial future was secure. Then everything changed. In early 2025, their homeowners insurance renewal arrived, and one number immediately caught their attention. Their annual premium jumped to $18,400. Instead of paying around $425 a month, they were now looking at more than $1,500 every month just for insurance. Sarah spent days calling insurance companies, hoping to find a better deal. Even the lowest quote was dramatically higher than what they'd been paying. At the same time, property taxes increased, HOA fees climbed, and the family's monthly housing costs kept moving in only one direction, up. Their total housing budget rose from about $3,175 a month to roughly $4,433. Their income hadn't changed, but their expenses had. That single budget change pushed their housing costs above 40% of their income. From that moment on, staying in Florida became a financial struggle instead of a long-term plan. They cut every unnecessary expense they could find. Streaming subscriptions disappeared, restaurant visits stopped, and even their children's activities had to be reduced. After all those sacrifices, they managed to save only about $400 a month. It helped, but it wasn't nearly enough to offset the rising housing costs. This is where many people misunderstand Florida's affordability crisis. It wasn't about reckless spending or poor financial planning. Sarah and Michael earned well above the area's median income. They lived responsibly, followed a budget, and still found themselves under growing financial pressure. Economists often separate how expensive something is from how quickly those costs increase. Florida wasn't just becoming costly. It was changing faster than most families could adjust. When essential expenses rise far faster than wages, even financially responsible households begin looking elsewhere. For Sarah and Michael, that realization changed everything. One evening, Sarah searched for something she never imagined she'd need: cities where nurses could earn similar salaries while spending far less on housing. Her search kept pointing to the same place: Metro Atlanta. Hospitals there were hiring experienced nurses with salaries remarkably close to what she earned in Tampa. Then she compared housing costs. In suburbs like Kennesaw and Marietta, similar family homes were selling for prices that made their monthly budget look completely different. The biggest surprise wasn't the mortgage, it was homeowners insurance. Quotes came back at roughly $1,400 a year, not every month, but for the entire year. When they added everything together, the difference was impossible to ignore. Their estimated monthly housing costs dropped from about $4,430 in Tampa to roughly $2,260 in Georgia. That meant saving more than $25,000 every year without taking a major pay cut. For the first time in months, the numbers finally started working again. Sarah wasn't ready to make a rushed decision. For nearly 2 weeks, she researched Atlanta's job market, schools, neighborhoods, crime rates, and daily living costs. Michael explored warehouse management opportunities and found something unexpected. Atlanta's logistics industry was even larger than Tampa's, with plenty of competitive job openings. The family visited Metro Atlanta for a weekend. They drove through neighborhoods, explored local parks, and spoke with residents who had already moved from Florida. Again and again, they heard the same message. The financial pressure disappeared. Housing became manageable, savings returned, and life felt less stressful. By the end of the year, both had accepted new jobs. They sold their Tampa home, moved to Georgia, and used their remaining equity to buy another house. Their story isn't unusual. When researchers examined migration records and moving patterns, thousands of Florida families were making remarkably similar decisions. Georgia wasn't the only destination. Migration data shows Tennessee quickly became another top choice for families leaving Florida. For many households, Tennessee offered two major advantages: lower housing costs and, like Florida, no state income tax. The Carolinas also attracted a growing number of movers. Cities like Charlotte and Raleigh offered strong job markets with a significantly lower cost of living. Nurses, teachers, engineers, and other professionals realized they could earn similar salaries while keeping much more of their income each month. It wasn't about finding a perfect place. It was about finding a place where everyday expenses finally matched what families actually earned. When thousands of households make the same financial decision independently, it stops being a coincidence. It becomes a migration trend that reshapes entire states. Florida's story isn't simply about people moving away. It's about household budgets reaching a breaking point faster than incomes can keep up. Insurance costs, property taxes, and housing expenses have climbed much faster than wages, putting increasing pressure on middle-class families. For many households, leaving wasn't about chasing a different lifestyle. It was about protecting their financial future before the numbers became impossible. Unless housing costs, insurance premiums, and income growth become more balanced, this migration trend is unlikely to slow anytime soon. The states gaining new residents aren't necessarily paying higher salaries. They're simply giving families a better chance to build savings and plan for the future. That's why Georgia, Tennessee, and the Carolinas continue attracting more Florida residents year after year. For many families, the math simply works better there. This isn't just changing where people live. It's changing local economies, housing markets, schools, and the communities these families leave behind. Whether this trend continues will depend on one question: can Florida make everyday living affordable again for ordinary working families? If this video gave you a clearer understanding of what's really driving Florida's migration, subscribe to Inside Cities for more data-driven stories about America's changing cities, housing markets, and economic trends. Thanks for watching. Every number tells a story. Every city has a future. See you in the next one.